Shout out to everybody. Your boy is back. Go on ahead and hit that like button if you can, home theater people. If you're tired of these influencers trying to influence you off of what the manufacturer wants you to have, hit that like button. I do want to say this though, right? As far as home theater, I do feel like it's like a mix of people. It's like three different types of people. It's people that's going to spend the most amount of money to try to have the bragging rights. You got another sect of people that's going to, just try to get the most that they can for the value of money. And then you got kind of a mix. Some people are going to spend most money on a projector. Some people are going to spend most of their money on sound. It's like a mix, right? Now, I'll say this. I kind of fall into the mix / spend as much money as I can on equipment. And I want to say that's not always the best thing to do, right? Now, I've got a processor and a lot of receivers, right? So I've got like my processor is an Avium 90 Anthem, right? And then I've got a RZ50 receiver. I've got a Denon 3800H receiver. I've got MRX 1140, that's an Anthem receiver. I just had a Cinema 50 for like a year. I just got rid of it. And I want to say this, right? And I didn't get rid of it because it was bad. I got rid of it because I needed more channel counts. And then also I got offered a pretty good penny for it. So I went ahead and sold it, you know what I mean? And applied the money towards like getting a Kaleidoscope. Now, as far as the Onkyo RZ50 is concerned, I want to say this, for the money, it's a reason why I still have it. I got it in my bedroom. I don't have it in my main theater. I don't have it in here, you know what I mean? But in my bedroom, I have it because I like the way it's built. I feel like that Onkyo RZ50 is built like a tank, right? I think it gives you a lot of wattage for the money. I think it, giving you Dirac live, incorporated with the price is insane. You know what I mean? And I do feel like it sounds really good. Like, so I've got Kef LS50 Metas like hooked up to it, and I've got like a SB 2000 Pro subwoofer like hooked up to it. It's just like in my it's not like my main theater or nothing like that where I got the PB4000s, the MRX 1140, or in here I got the Avium 90 or nothing like, what I'm saying? It's just in my bedroom, right? And I did play around with have the RZ50 hooked up to my main theater and all, just to see if there was a difference of sound, because I heard a guy say in a blind test you can't tell the difference, right? And you can absolutely tell the difference, right? But is that difference big? Is it major? Is it minimal? I will say, compared to my MRX 1140, which runs Arc Genesis, I think the Onkyo RZ50, I think it holds its own. Like, I think it's in a different type of sound category, where it's like the Anthem is more energetic. You know what I mean? More exciting, I should say. It just sounds like exciting. What's going on in the film? I think that's what Anthem really does. It gives you like an exciting like feeling, right? It's not super bright. It's like a kind of a warmer. It's not as warm as like a Marantz, but it's like a kind of warm but exciting sound, and it gives you a lot of mid bass, right? So I like it for that. As far as the RZ50, I feel like it sounds more musical, to me, but a little thinner, right? So like the vocals when you're listening to a movie, and whether or not it's Dune, Mission Impossible, like whatever it is, like the vocals are just full with the anthems, right? And it's just like you can hear so much definition, I should say, and the male vocals or the female vocals when you have the anthem, and then the surround kind of just like encompasses, like if there's a big action scene, it's just everything is just so energetic, right? With the Onkyo RZ50, I feel like it has its points to where it could get there, but I feel like the sound signature is just thinner, right? And I feel like that is what separates it from something that's, twice, 3, 4, 5 times the price, is how much definition you're going to get in the character that you might listen to or the sounds that you might hear. It's not bad, by any means. If it was bad, I would have got rid of it, right? I've got the Onkyo RZ50 hooked up in my bedroom, and I don't have the Denon 3800H hooked up in my bedroom. The Denon is just sitting there just in case I ever have a problem with my Anthem or something like that, and I need to just use like a receiver, you know, and I might have to send an Anthem in or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? But as far as the Onkyo, I think it sounds good. I think it sounds way better than the Denon 3800H. Even though the Denon 3800H got more features, it's got 4 independent subwoofer outs that are independently controlled. You can have tactile transducers hooked up to it without needing a Y splitter. You can just hook it up, you know, and it can control your bass shakers. It can do a whole lot of things. I think the user interface is easier than the Onkyo RZ50, but I just feel like the Onkyo RZ50 sounds better than the Denon 3800H or the Denon, however you want to say it. I think it sounds better. You know, so could be direct live. It could be like the capacitors, resistors, everything that's inside of it. Maybe it's just built better, the Onkyo RZ50, but it sounds way better than the Denon. You know, and I've heard a lot of Denons. I've heard a Denon A1H a ton of times. Shout out to SVS whenever they go to you know, one of the shows or whatever, whether or not it's CDO or if it's, you know, Audio Advice Lives, whatever, they always bring a Denon 3800H, and I'm sorry, a Denon A1H, and like I spend a significant amount of time in some of those SVS rooms, so I've heard a lot of, you know, A1Hs, you know, in my life, you know, and a lot of Denons, 6700. I've heard a lot of them, and I feel like the Onkyo RZ50 competes with those, even though it's got like 2 subwoofer outs, but they're like mono, like they're not independently controlled. Like, but you can always get like you know, run REW or get a mini DSP to control that. And a lot of times, even if you have independent subwoofer outs, you're going to want to use like a mini DSP to get the best room response that you can, you know, unless you've got like a turn off that can give you a pretty flat response regardless. Or like, I think an Anthem does a decent job. It doesn't do an amazing job, but it does a decent job with bass, right? It gives you a lot of mid bass. But, you know, with the RZ50, you can work around that, I would say, right? But as far as the sound quality, the Onkyo RZ50, I think sounds better than a lot of Denons, a lot of them. You know, the Marantz, I feel like, is a level above the Denon. Like when I had the Marantz Cinema 50, I felt like the Marantz sound way better than the Denons. And I see a lot of people in the comments, oh, they're the same thing. The Denon and the Marantz, the sister company or whatever, they're the same thing. That you can save money, just go with the Denon. No, if you can afford a Marantz, get a Marantz. You know what I'm saying? If you can afford a Marantz, they sound different. They don't sound the same, different tonality. You know what I mean? It just sounds way better on a Marantz. But it depends on what you like. If you like a more cinematic sound and you don't really care about the musical aspect of a track that's in a movie, you know, all of that, yeah, get a Denon. If you like the flatter, bright sound, get a Denon, right? But if you want a warm, rich sound, you're going to get a Marantz. Now, the Onkyo RZ50, I feel like, gives you a decent medium, right? To where you are going to get somewhat of a cinematic sound, but you're going to get more musical sound. So what I noticed is when I hooked the Cinema 50 up to my KEF LS50 Metas in my bedroom, and then I would switch it back and forth to the RZ50 because I had to get rid of one of them, right? The Cinema 50 sounded way better. It did. It sounded way better than the RZ50. It just sounds thicker, more meaty, you know what I'm saying, than the RZ50. The RZ50 did a good job with music, you know what I mean? But I'm like, and the Marantz sounds better, but am I really gonna be using the Marantz all like that? You know what I mean? Or should I just sell it, you know what I mean, and take the money and get something that I really want, which was the Kaleidoscape. And I chose to sell the Marantz, got more money for it, and, you know, used that money, utilized it to get the Kaleidoscape and just kept the RZ50 because it was good enough for me to keep. You know what I mean? So I don't know. As far as me, home theater wise, I've tried it in many different rooms. And here I tried it in my main theater in the house. I've tried the RZ50. It's hooked up right now currently in my bedroom. I don't hate it. You know what I'm saying? I don't hate it. I love the way it looks. I think it's like almost industrial looking, but like it's got that Japanese flair to it, right? I think it looks really good. It's heavy as all get out. It's super heavy. You know, it gives you a lot of power for the price, and to have direct live. Like when you listen to the RZ50 before you hook up direct live, it sounds good. You know what I mean? But when you hook up Dirac Live, it's like really weird, that Dirac Live, because it's like I only have 2 speakers, which the LS50 Metas hooked up in my bedroom. And when I'm watching Godzilla Minus One, you know, like in the beginning when the Godzilla is like you know, he's growling in the beginning, and it kind of like pans to the left, like his growling. It's like up and to the left how it sounds. On the RZ50, it does that even though I don't have any like speaker to my left, because that Dirac Live is so good, like with how it manages the 2 speakers, it almost sounds as if you have surround sound. That's how good the RZ50 sounds, you know. So I like that, you know what I mean? It's a lot of things, but if I, you know, even though the Marantz sounded better with vocals and music and stuff like that, I felt like it didn't have as much spatial awareness as the RZ50 because of the Dirac Live. But if it was just the Onkyo versus the Marantz, I probably would have just kept the, you know, with the regular room, you know, room correction, whatever, the just the sound, the stock sound, I probably would have kept the Marantz over the RZ50. But Dirac Live like bumped it up a notch in surround. You know what I'm saying? Surround sound. So I'm just like, I really don't want to part with this RZ50 because I don't even have to have speakers over here. The Dirac Live just makes it sound like I have them. You know what I'm saying? So I've got Phantom, like, you know, you hear about Phantom Center Channel. It does that pretty well on the RZ50. And then you got the Phantom, surrounds. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it sounds like really good. If you're new to home theater and you've got an RZ50 and you're not like switching it between that and an Anthem and you know what I mean, the Marantz and doing all of that, you're going to be very happy with it. You know what I mean? It's just when you start switching it to things that are a little bit more higher end, which you're going to notice some differences, you know, in sound signature. But, you know, you're going to get used to whatever you get. You know, I always tell people, get what you want, get the best receiver that you can afford before you get into separates and all of that. Get the best one you can afford. Unless you just want to get separate, start getting amps, you know, build up, then get a separates processor. But if you want just a receiver to kind of handle everything, get the best one you can afford. And I do feel like even if you just say, hey, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a 6700H or A1H or whatever, you know, I just want to spend minimal. You can spend minimal and then get a good sound with the RZ50. In terms of sound separation, right? You got 5 tracks and you're trying to hear individual layers of the sound. I feel like the RZ50 does an okay job, right? I think it separates sound better than the A1H. I do. You know what I mean? A lot of people are just Denon heads, you know what I mean? Super Denon fanboys. I'm a Denon head and nothing's better than Denon. I've got a Denon. I'm not like exclusive to any, you know what I mean? I've got a Denon. I've got all of that, right? I think it separates sound better than a Denon. You know what I mean? I do feel like it's not as good as an Anthem. It's not. You know what I mean? It doesn't separate sound as good as an Anthem. It's good for what it in its price range. You know what I mean? So, and that's why a lot of times I do recommend an Onkyo RZ50. Like, my neighbor was just talking about like, yo, let me hear your theater system. Let him hear my theater system. He's like, yo, what should I start out with? And I immediately, the first thing I said was RZ50. Oh, are you selling yours? I'm thinking about it, but probably not. But you can get one, you know what I mean? Like a good deal on one or somewhere, you know, but I'm probably going to keep mine. You know, that was my initial response. It wasn't like to be funny. It was just like, yo, the RZ50 is good. Like if I choose in my bedroom to add on to it, I can, you know, and it's got enough wattage to where I don't really need like an external amplifier to do it. Even though like when you see wattage on a receiver, it's really 2 channels driven. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like every channel is going to have 120 watts or, you know what I mean? Or whatever it has. Like it's just 2 channels driven, you know, and then it kind of trickles down from there. Like if you got more than 2 channels and you're not going to get, you know, like what it's rated as, you know, but I do feel like it's got enough power. And I think this thing is built like a tank and it's going to be around for a while. Should you consider other options. Always consider other options, right? But a lot of these different companies, and I don't like to say names too much as far as, but like I do, you know what I mean? But like Crutchfield, you know, try something out. See if you like it. You know what I'm saying? Best Buy, I think you can get an RZ50 or something like that. Try it, see if you like it. If you don't like it, send it back. You know what I mean? Or whatever, you know, and then keep trying things to see what you like, you know, and it's just my personal opinion. I've tried a lot of receivers, a lot of things, and I ended up sticking with Anthem, you know what I mean? But, you know, the RZ50 is very, very good, phenomenal for its money, even though it does not have independent subwoofer outs. I think it's good. As far as the pre-outs that you're going to use, if you have external amplification hooked up to it, I don't have any external amplifiers. Like I said, I'm only running 2 speakers with it in a subwoofer, so I don't really need that. I think it powers my speakers like just fine. But if you want to, just check and see how many volts the pre-outs are handling. You know, that makes a big difference, right? Because I think the Anthems have pre-outs that have 5 volts. So if you have an external amplifier, like on an MRX 1140 or something, you're going to be able to utilize that whole amplifier. Whereas like if you get something that's volted, has a lower voltage, you might have an external amplifier hooked up to it, but it's not really doing that much, you know, because you might have like 2.5 volts or something, depending on what it is. But I'm not sure what the RZ50 has in terms of that. I know you can hook external amplifiers up to it, but like I said, I don't need it. But if I decide to expand, like in the bedroom, or, you know what I mean, expand my speaker system in the bedroom, then I can maybe look more into that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with the RZ50. You know what I'm saying? But y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Now, I've heard a lot of different systems, and like I will say, I've heard Denons that sound decent. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of it is going to come down to how your room is calibrated. You know what I mean? Whether or not, you know, people are using, because some people have Denons, even a 3800H, may calibrate it with Dirac Live with bass control. You know what I mean? It's going to sound way better than Denon XT32. It's going to sound way better. Even, you know, Dirac Live Denon is going to sound better than a Marantz with XT32. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you have a Marantz running Dirac Live, it's going to crush a Denon. You know what I mean? So it's just, it depends on what you like. But for that Onkyo to have, you know, Dirac Live, I think it's a game changer. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to Onkyo, shout out to everybody. This is not sponsored. This is my personal opinion off of a product that I own. You know, but I'm out. Come and rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. And it's just for people that say, because I've seen a guy say, I've got a AVM 70, right? And then that's an Anthem AVM 70, and I've got a RZ50, and I can't tell the difference. And he said he couldn't tell the difference with a blind test. And you know, I could definitely tell the difference between an RZ50, and it's just the one's thicker sounding, right? More body in the sound, and the other one sounds a little thinner, you know? So I don't know, maybe the guy has hearing issues or whatever. But as far as, can you hear the difference in a blind test with a lot of these? I don't think you can hear the difference, much difference, if you go from like a AV10, like a Marantz AV10, versus AV90. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to tell a little difference, like if you're really paying attention, but when you get that high up, it's harder to tell. But like when you're like Onkyo level and you're listening to like an MRX 1140, like Anthem, you can tell the difference. Or AVM 90, a separate processor Anthem, you can immediately tell a difference. You know, like the sound separation is where those shine, you know, and the energy in the tracks or the movies is where they sound. Like one is going to bring out the music a little bit more, like the AVM 90, the music is going to be better or whatever in the movie, you know what I'm saying? Or like if a pin drops or a bullet shell falls, or you're going to hear it clearer, you know what I mean, with more body with like an Anthem than you would like a RZ50, but with RZ50 you will still hear it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace.